So we're going to take this graph up here and just shift it 9 units to the right. Now, which one of these down here says to do that? This one says 9 units to the left. That's not right. Up, down, nope. Here it is. So what we want is we're going to take x squared and move it, shift it, translate it 9 units to the right. So we're going to select this. Now we're going to describe the graph of x minus 3. How are we going to get that? Well, x minus 3, that's just an x. That's linear. So our linear graph is this one right here. Now, the minus 3 is outside, right? I don't have parentheses. So I'm going to drop this down. I'm going to take this one here and translate it down 3 units. So it's going to be this graph here, translated down 3 units. So what have we got here? The first one says we're going to go up 3. That's not right. This looks like it. We're going to take the graph of y equals x and shift it down 3 units. Now what we're supposed to do is graph this function right here, but how can it be obtained from this graph, 1 over x? Now the 1 over x graph is this one right over here. Okay, that's our graph of 1 over x. Now look what we're doing. We're taking 1 over x, and then we're subtracting 5. So it's 1 over x minus 5. That's going to be a shift downward 5 units. So which one of these? This is the graph, shift the graph 5 units down. Here it is right here. All right, so I'm going to shift it 5 units down, and then we're going to graph this. So here is our graph of 1 over x. We're going to take this one and just drop it, all right, it looks like this. We're just going to drop it 5 units down. You know, the way I'm going to do this is we're not going to get a perfectly accurate picture here. But if you look at this one up here, right, if I take that 45-degree line right through here, right, I'll graph it over here, it might look something like this. Now you can see that this graph, 1 over x, just looks like this. What I'm going to do is drop this line down 5 units. So I'll drop it down to here and do that 45-degree line. And then I'll graph it like this. My graph will go kind of like this. Coming down to 5, and then over this way to 5. It's going to look something like that. Now we want to describe how the graph of negative the square root of x, all right, here's our function here, h of x equals negative square root of x, can be obtained from the basic graph. Now the basic graph, we've got a square root, that's this one down here. All right, so what have we done? We've taken square root of x, I'll write it here. Here's the basic one, f of x equals square root of x. And what have we done? We have added a negative sign. So a negative sign, that's a reflection. So what we're going to do is take the basic graph, I'm going to draw this down here. I'm going to draw it right down here. Here's the basic graph. We're just going to reflect it around the axis. So our graph is going to look like this. I'm going to be down here at the bottom right. I'm just going to take this and reflect it around the axis. It's going to look like this. All right, let's describe how this graph here of this function, negative 2x plus 4, can be obtained from one of the basic graphs. Now this is an x. I see a linear function in here. So I'm thinking of this basic function right here. Now, a couple of things happen here. First of all, we're multiplying it by negative 2. So I'm going to take this basic graph over here, and I'm going to, the negative means reflect it, so I'm going to reflect it around the x-axis. Then I'm going to stretch it by 2 units, and then I'm going to bring it up 4. Okay? That's what we're going to do. The plan is to start with this function right here, this graph right here. Then what I'm going to do is stretch it vertically 2 units. All right, so I'm going to stretch it. So it's going to go up like this. I'll stretch it up. Then I'm going to reflect it, and then I'm going to bring it up 4 units. But I'm going to graph it using this form right here, y equals mx plus b. So m, in our case, is -2, and b is 4. So I'm going to start here at 4. Okay, I've already got a few points. I'm going to start at 4. Now the slope is -2. I'm going to write -2 as a fraction, -2 over 1. So I'll start my point. I'll go to the right one, down 2. I'll do it again because that's kind of close. To the right one, down 2. To the right one, down 2. Now I've got 4 points. I can pass a line through those 4. So there's our graph. Now can you see that this graph here is this graph here? First of all, it's flipped around the axis, and then is shifted up 4 units, and then it's stretched going over 4 and down 4. We're stretching it down. In number 6, we want to describe how this function here, 1/4 the absolute value of x minus 7, can be obtained from the basic graph. Now, this is an absolute value. So absolute value is this one right here. So can you see what we're going to do? First of all, it looks like we're going to drop it down 7, and then we're going to shrink it or compact it by 1/4. First of all, why don't we take this graph right here, and we'll drop it down 7, right? I'm going down. I'm translating it down by 7. So let's do that first. So there it is. I've just dropped it down by 7 units. Now what I want to do is I want to shrink it or compact it, 1/4 of this. So now to get this graph, I'm going to start here. I'm going to start right at that vertex. And normally what I would do is I would go, if I did this, so suppose I put x equals 4. Here's what I'm thinking. If x equals 4, then the absolute value of x is 4, and 1/4 the absolute value of x is 1/4 the absolute value of 4, which is going to be 1/4 of 4, which is 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start at this vertex. I'm going to go over 4, and instead of up 4, I'm just going to go up 1. Right? So I'm going to get this point right here, over 4, up 1. I'll do it on this side too, over 4, up 1. Okay, so that's going to be I got a vertex right here. So I'm just going to connect those points. So here's our graph. This is our graph of g of x equals 1/4 absolute value of x minus 7. Now this function, look what we've got. We've got a reflection. We've got a cubic. So here's my cubic right there. And inside we've got a -9. Now this means that inside is a horizontal shift, 9 units to the right? Horizontal shifts to the opposite of what we think. We see a minus, maybe we think to the left, but it's horizontal, so it goes to the right. Does the opposite of what we think. So I'm going to take this graph here. I'm going to reflect it. Well, first of all, I'm going to go 9 units to the right, and then I'm going to reflect it around the x-axis. Now, normally when I graph a cubic, I'm going to do this. Now, this one I'm going to go ahead and shift. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start over here at 9. Now, normally what I would do in a cubic is I go to the right one, up 1, then to the left one, down 1, because I'm cubing. Over to the right one, cube it, you get 1. To the left one, you get -1, cube it, you get -1. Now, go to the right 2, that puts us over here, and cube it, you get 8. So I'm way up here. And then I'll start at this point here. If I go to the left 2, cube it, I get -8, so I'm way down here. All right, so here's what that basic one would look like. But now what I have to do is I have to reflect it. So what I'm going to do instead is this. I'm going to start at this point here. I'll go to, well, just reflect it. Instead of this point here, just reflect it down. I'll get that one. Take this one, reflect it here. I'll get that one. Now up here at the top, take this one, reflect it. I now am down here at -8. And then take this one and reflect it. I'm way up here at +8. Okay, so that's here. Let me see if I can find it. I think it's here. So this graph is going to look like this.